You've been here for basketball game day a few years ago with Kentucky. What have you thought so far of this atmosphere, and what are you expecting?
I mean, this is one of the more electric, with anticipation, places we've been all year. I think because the magnitude of the game, the fact that Gameday hasn't been here in a number of years. First top 10 game in the Big 12 in the regular season in 4 years. First time BYU's ever played in one. And then with Texas Tech, I mean, I keep hearing people throw around the comparison to the Crabtree game in 08, and that's pretty lofty praise. And whether you might say there's some differences because of the rivalry with Texas or whatever, that's probably true. But I think it gives you some insight in the magnitude of the game. There's a lot of excitement. It'll make for a great scene for the show in the morning.
On that note, in 08, the last time Gameday was here, as you were mentioning, it was an era where Mike Leach and the air raid was really revolutionizing the game of college football. And now you have a head coach like Joey McGuire coming in with kind of like a Spike Dykes type of background, being a Texas high school football coach. What would you say makes this group special as you guys are here for the first time in 17 years?
Well, I think one of the things that I admire the most about what Joey's been able to do, and I was out at practice this morning, is, and we all say it because it's true. They went into the portal. They spent a lot of money. Everybody says that. You look at the stars they got on defense and how well they evaluated. But the one thing that I admire the most about that is the way they've put a culture together. You watch them play, and you can see that. You can see the intensity and the character that they have, competitive character, in terms of wanting to play for each other. And that's not an easy thing to do. And so that shows me that not only did they just go and get in the game financially, they did their homework about the type of guys they wanted to bring in. Because that's one of the things. This is not a mutually exclusive deal. Guys can make money and have unbelievable competitive character. And it seems to me, now look, I'm not going to make, well, I just did, but I'm not going to make broad rationalizations, but it appears from watching them all year, and when you watch the way they interact on the practice field, it appears that they have put together a tremendous culture of guys who want to win games. And I think that's really, really impressive.
Rece, to that point, a lot of this, 08 was focused on the offense. Right now, it seems like the defense has kind of stepped up in a big way for Tech.
Yeah.
Talk about just that change in philosophy and how it's made Tech a contender.
I think it's the old thing, defense travels, right? And these guys, with Rodriguez tackling everybody, and if you don't have the football riveted to your rib cage, he's likely to take it away. The two pass rushers are great. Bailey and Height are just tremendous. Their secondaries played very well. So I think that keeps you in every game. And I think it's because of that overwhelming nature of the defensive front. And I left out Lee Hunter, who's been great in the middle too. You can play against anybody. This is an elite level defensive front. It's going to keep you in games, no matter who you play with. Big Ten, SEC, other Big 12 teams, you're going to have a shot because that typically doesn't slump. Sometimes you're going to have weather or just an off day, or receivers are going to have trouble getting their footing, quarterback's going to be a little off. That happens from time to time. But the guys who can line up and get after you, that tends to be pretty consistent. So I think it's a really, really big thing and a big factor of why they can not only make the playoff, but can have an impact in the playoff once they get there.
Same with that defensive part. We were asking Desmond about it. With there not being a real front runner for the Heisman, what is the realistic possibility with a guy like Jacob Rodriguez getting maybe at least to go to New York?
I'd love to sit here and pander to the fans and say it's realistic. I'd be very surprised. What you need in that position, you need wow plays. You can't be, sometimes at quarterback or even at running back, you can accumulate big numbers. I don't think accumulating tackles will do it. Now, you let him rip the ball out of Bachmeier's hands and score, intercept a pass and score, and tackle everybody. Then maybe something like that. So you need, I think at that position particularly, you'd need wow moments. Butkus, that's a different deal. The other defensive awards, those are different deals. But if you're talking Heisman, you probably need something like that. Now, I don't think it's very likely, but it's fun. Yeah. It's fun to talk about. Fun for Mrs. Rodriguez to push on social media too, right? So that's good. That's a good thing.
You've seen a lot of different versions of BYU football in your broadcasting career. What do you think the Big 12 has done for this program and what they can become going forward?
They're very physical. When you go and play BYU, you're going to get hit. And, that's kind of always been the case. But I think the necessity of knowing you have to do it week in and week out is a little bit different. I think the Big 12 as a whole has changed a lot from the era we were talking about earlier, where everybody was, 66-59, Baker against Patrick. That's kind of fun. I like some defense. I like seeing great offense perform against elite defenses, not just 7-on-7 type stuff. Not that was it. That's a bit of an exaggeration. You know what I mean. And I think now what you've seen more teams in the Big 12 that have high-level defenses. I mean, these two teams do. These two teams play defense. Iowa State, even though they've been struggling and basically all of their defensive guys are hurt, but they play good defense. A lot of other teams do as well. Utah certainly plays great defense. So I think that really just knowing that you have to have the depth, that you have to be able to recruit that depth, that you're not going to have big breaks in your schedule that maybe you do if you're not in one of the Power 4 conferences, has really helped BYU elevate its program.
Looking at this new brand of Big 12, do you think that they've earned the right to have multiple teams in the playoffs, or do you think we still have a lot of time left? Depends on the winner of this game, how the factors kind of lay out.
I mean, I think they've performed well enough, but so much of this is contingent just on what you said, on the outcomes of games, not only within the Big 12, but out of it. Because once you get into the committee room now, and it's why I've been staunchly opposed to this idea of a specified number of bids per conference. Just evaluate the teams against each other. I know that's challenging because they don't play, it's not like the NFL where they played the same teams and you can get a fair estimation of it sometimes. But that's why we have a committee to make some football judgments, to apply their more rigorous metrics now. But speaking broadly, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem if they earned it. I mean, Utah's sitting right there, right on the edge. Both of these teams look good. If they, whoever, let's say Texas Tech wins at home tomorrow, and then they play again in the Big 12 championship game, and they play another great game, and this time BYU wins. Does that really knock you out of the playoff? I don't think so. And then, if Utah runs the table, maybe they're in it too. So there's a long way to go, but I do think that the Big 12 has put itself in position for multiple bids when selection day comes.
What are your thoughts on more transparency going into how the committee decides to rank all these programs?
I think the thing that people miss, and you're going to get me on my soapbox here, it becomes one of those arguments, it becomes like whack-a-mole, right? Because the fans say, I'm mad. We'll use somebody else. I'm a Miami fan. I'm mad. We beat Notre Dame. We should be ranked ahead of them no matter what. Okay? So head-to-head's the only thing that matters to you. And you say, the head-to-head, they don't respect head-to-head. Well, they're looking at all of these other things too. If you'll indulge me just a little bit, I'm not much of an art guy, but this is the analogy, the metaphor that I've drawn. I do like art. I'm just saying I'm not an expert. I liken this to a mosaic, right? If you and I go to a gallery and we see a mosaic, our eyes are going to be drawn to different things that impress us about the mosaic. That's what the committee does. The committee has part of the picture or the metrics, part of it's the schedule, part of it's record strength, part of it's how did you play, to some of them might be how do you play now. Some of them, Mac Rhodes told us the other night that they think Ohio State and Indiana is a little bit better on defense than Texas A&M on defensive front. Okay, so that it paints the entire picture. Now, I'm old enough to remember when we didn't do that, when we had a formula and people didn't like the formula. Now they're saying, I want a formula. I want to know what you're doing. And so the answer is that they're considering it all. And just because it might not agree with a certain group of fans doesn't mean they're getting it wrong. It also doesn't mean they're getting it right. But I do like the fact that they're being a little more transparent with their metrics. Some of the things that they're using, they view as proprietary, and they would prefer not to give the specific formula for what they're doing. But they are looking at record strength, a metric that measures how well an average playoff contender would do against that schedule. They're taking that. They've put teams now in tiers, and some of you statistical geniuses might be able to find some flaws with that, and I talked to one this week who does. But they are saying, look, just because someone ranks 10 and someone ranks 18, there might not really be a significant difference in that in terms of strength of schedule. So where do we draw? Bet you didn't bargain on getting standard deviation in here. If there is more than one standard deviation away from those two, well, then maybe they are different. Maybe we don't compare them that way. So that's a unbelievably long way to say that I do applaud their transparency, but I do also understand them protecting some proprietary information. And I think that in our sort of culture of let's get mad if people don't agree with me, that there's a lot of that too, that whatever answer they have, somebody's going to be mad.
What impresses you about Baron Morton?
I think his release, his toughness, his leadership. I got a chance to, just run by and say hello just real fast this morning. I think he's a guy who can make all the throws and can complement their defense really well. He can move if he has to. He's not I don't think he's going to be a great runner, but he can move. He can pick up first down when he needs to. And I think just his veteran savvy is one of the things that's really good. Knows how to use his weapons, makes good decisions, and that'll be paramount in this game because BYU, like Texas Tech, is very good at taking the football away.
Who's a player come for Bear Bachman that you've seen over the years?
Oh man, I can't invoke my guy's name yet. Bear's going to have to do a little bit more, but let's say that on the edge. Dare I say there's a little touch of Tebow in there someplace. But I still say this. Quarterbacks can't wear 47. Don't like that. You can wear 4 or you can wear 7. You can say, I like 47, so 7 minus 4 is 3, I'll take 3. Or 4 plus 7 is 11, I'll do that. But 47s are for tackling quarterbacks, like my friend David Pollock, who was great at that. That's 47. So he needs to be 4 or he needs to be 7. I'll admit, I won't say I'm accepting it, but it's growing on me, largely because he's so stinking good. But yeah, he's a really good player. Other than 47, that's all I've got to criticize Bear on. I understand he even plays a mean guitar out there. And Texas Tech receiver was Hayden Wigginton, is that right? He performed for the students out there, so maybe at some point, if these two meet in the Big 12 championship game, Bear Bachmeyer and Hayden Wigginton can go and square off and have a contest or something. That'd be great.
What are your thoughts on that student show out, the camping and all that?
It's awesome. I mean, that's what makes this sport great. You don't get this anywhere except college sports. I know they have K-Ville at Duke for basketball, but I even think football's a little bit different, man. I mean, to get jacked up for a game like this and show up Sunday to get in, Tuesday to start lining up for game day, applaud the university for making it so that the students didn't have to choose. I guess some of the ones in line for game day will have access to get good seats for the game. I mean, it's really special. You just don't get that in a lot of sports, and we're really pleased to be part of it. And it's great that they come out and want to showcase that on our show, because I never lose sight of the fact. I hope they enjoy our show. We really want to entertain them and have a great time with them. But I think there's a big part of it. They're like, hey man, you're in Lubbock. We love Texas Tech. We're proud of our school. We're proud of our city. We're proud of our team. And we're going to show you all of that. But if they show me tortillas, I've been asked to say only outside the stadium, please. Only. Please.
You've been to some pretty good college towns over here during game day this season. How are you feeling that the vibe is similar or different?
I think I feel more anticipation here than Texas. Ohio State had a lot because the two big brand names, Ohio State coming off championship game, all of that, or off championship. So there was a lot there, but it was also that's sort of the new. Everybody's anticipating the season. We've had a ton of big games, but boy, this one feels a little bit different, and it's exciting to be a part of it for sure.
What are your thoughts on the new facilities that Texas Tech has built in the past few years?
I got a chance to walk through them this morning. Holy cow, they're beautiful. I mean, it got everything you could possibly want. It was showing me the big. There's a big video board in a walk-through area where, so when you're going over schemes and you're saying, okay, this is a single high safety look, this is what they're going to do, you can walk out and see it visually and stand in front of it. And I said to the guy, and I don't want to cast aspersions at any other school, there's another school that I've been to, they've got something similar. It is so much smaller than the one that you guys have here. It's really a great recruiting tool. It's a great reflection of the commitment that everyone involved with Texas Tech has made to the athletic department generally and to the football program specifically.
With the matchup between, everybody talks about Bear versus Barron, is there another matchup that sticks out to you on paper?
I think the BYU tackles and chippers and other people who are going to help trying to keep Bailey and Height from wrecking the game. I mean, you know, see what I did there was accident wreck. See if they can wreck them and wreck the game, because that's what they do. So I think that's the biggest thing. Can they run the ball effectively enough to keep those two from jacking up the game for them? That's the biggest. To me, that will be the one thing other than turnovers that decide the game. And everybody says turnovers every week, but these two teams have combined to force 36 turnovers. That's a lot. And so it's, you know, you got to take care of the football too.
Do you think you'll be throwing any tortillas tomorrow?
My plan was to do so. Yes, I throw T-shirts out usually to start. My plan was to throw tortillas. I don't want to do anything that people might not use the intended consequence with them. Like if I throw tortillas, I hope you have something to put inside them and you can enjoy a nice breakfast sandwich. That's what I'm hoping for. Other than like, you know, they may be getting a little wound up because I don't know, rumor has it that there might be people around who've been indulged in alcohol consumption.
Really?
And if they do, sometimes that might cloud judgment. So, you know, we'll try to do the right thing there if we can.
With the investment that you're seeing in these two programs, could you see these long-term programs emerging as the bell cows in the Big 12, you think, going forward?
I think there's so much balance in the Big 12. I think they will stay in the mix for sure, but I'm not sure that this is going to be much different from the other conferences where you're going to see some ebbs and flows. Now, maybe Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia are to some degree. I'm not sure anybody's completely immune from it, but at least to some degree immune. I think everything else. I mean, you hear coaches all the time saying you have to have the thread of a culture that pulls from season to season, but basically you're building a new team every year. And so I think it's going to make it a lot more difficult to sustain and become the two programs to beat consistently in any league. But I do think that the commitment that they've shown and the excellent coaching that they have, talent evaluation that they have, I think there's a really good chance that they will consistently be at the top more often than not.
Time for one or two more.
I've heard enough of that guy. He never shuts up.
Tell me about something that may be under the radar in this game, something that you're looking forward to.
Punt returns. BYU's good at it. Hidden yardage, flipped them, special teams like that. I think that's can be a really big deal. We've got dangerous guys back there for both teams, and I think especially for BYU. So I think that's an area where I'd keep an eye on.
Do you feel that with the strength of Texas Tech, this won't be the last time and it won't be 17 years till your next visit?
Let's hope not. I mean, with such a reception here, I just want you guys to continue to have this energy when we come out. You know, sometimes we are treated wonderfully when we go to Columbus or Tuscaloosa or Athens, but it's almost like, hey, you guys here, have you paid the homeowners association dues? Great, okay, we'll see you. Great, good to see you guys. You know, because they're used to it. There's something cool about the energy of being here for the first time ever, or first time in a long time, that, you know, if we come back, which I would rather imagine wouldn't be 17 years, I hope we get this same energy, because this has been terrific.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rece. Thank you, guys.
So thanks for coming out here. What do you guys want to know? What do you want to talk about today? Beautiful day in Lubbock, huh?
The last time College Game Day was here was 2008. It was an era where Leach and the air raid really revolutionized the game of college football. Now you got a head coach like Joey McGuire, just with a background kind of like Spike Dykes as a Texas high school coach. What would you say makes this year special?
Well, what makes this year special to me is NIL. Yeah, they went out and bought a lot of talent. And so I think that talent is starting to pay off in pretty decent dividends. But this is the month when you really figure out if your return on your investment is what you anticipated. So obviously, big game tomorrow. So excited about this matchup. BYU, you know their brand of football. It's just a physical brand of football. Starting a freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier, who has one of the coolest names in college football, Bear Bachmeier, and wears 47, so it kind of follows his name. But, you know, they're going to be a physical unit, and obviously the Red Raiders are very physical too. I'm just so excited that we're here for this matchup. I believe that the Red Raiders have earned this type of attention. I was in the facility yesterday. And first of all, incredible football facility. If you haven't been there, I strongly advise you guys go and tour the facilities. It's outstanding, better than probably all NFL teams. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to come here and be like, what the hell are we dealing with back in KC? You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a step down when he goes back to KC, trust me. But anyway, up there and talking to the players, and they understand, you know, the challenge ahead, and they're looking forward to it. So it's going to be a great matchup tomorrow.
You mentioned being here in the past. I mean, I saw you at the old football facility years ago. I mean, how amazing is the transformation since 2007, 2008, just of the facilities and everything here?
I mean, it's like night and day. Yeah, it's no comparison. Yeah, from then to now. Like I said, you know, NIL and the infusion of multi-millions can do that for a program.
Desmond, as a Heisman Trophy winner, Desmond, how do you think the season Jacob Rodriguez has had, could he potentially see himself end up in New York at the end of this year?
As of right now, I don't have anybody on my Heisman list. I haven't been impressed with anybody to that level. What you're experiencing now, a lot of programs are trying to put their guys' names out there, so if they have like a good game, then they planted the seed, and now everything else is fertilizing that seed. But as of right now, if I had to fill out my ballot, I may just leave it blank, because it hasn't been. I mean, you got guys as quarterbacks who they may be. They may qualify for like the Johnny Unitas or, you know, the Davey O'Brien. You have running backs who may qualify for the Doak Walker, some receivers who may qualify for the Bolitnikov, but no one that I've seen so far that is like, okay, that guy should be, you know, mentioned in the same breath as the Heisman. Not yet, but, you know, we still got a good month of football left. These are some of the most marquee matchups. And you want to play your best football in November against the best competition, because that's what helps you separate yourself as a potential Heisman candidate.
What has this team done, what has the Red Raiders done to impress you over this year?
Well, I'm not easily impressed, you know what I mean? So to me, this is a group that I think has played consistently, but now this is when you really start to see those challenges, right? Coach Corso used to always say, the games in November are the games they'll remember, because that's when the competition gets a little stiffer. So, but I mean, they've been very consistent. I don't know if you watch Gameday, but if you do, I think from them, the first time we've had a conversation about the conference, has said that I think the Red Raiders are the best team in the conference. So, and I still believe that. But, you know, now you have to go out there and prove it, because you're going up against better competition.
You brought up NIL and with it, Texas Tech and BYU's back-to-back 8-0 seasons. Do you think these could be maybe the bell cow brands, the Big 12 moving forward?
I won't make that comment yet. No, I don't have knee-jerk reactions because a team may have a good season. You know what I mean? Like that's not my style. Like, oh yeah, this is going to be the best team for the next 10 years. Because of NIL and because of transfer portal, rosters are ever changing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how many of these guys are draft eligible, and will they be here next year? Now they're going to be able to go out there, and then bring in some of the same talent. See what I'm saying? So it's really much more difficult, I think, nowadays to be able to fill one of those rosters where you're going to have guys there for 3 years, or maybe probably not 4 years, maybe 3 years, so you can have that sort of success for multiple years.
Do you think the Big 12 has earned the right to have multiple teams in the playoffs, or do you think that the winner tomorrow is really going to play a factor in 1, 2, or maybe 3?
I think there's a lot of football left to be played. Like, we're going to have to talk about that on game day tomorrow, right? And when we're in meetings, I'm like, there's just too many other factors to really make a defiant statement, at least for me. Now, you know, you have some guys on TV and they just like making defiant statements, right? Yeah, this is this and this and that, then they're just dead ass wrong, you know? I'd rather let it play itself out, because that's what's going to happen, because you just have so many different things that can happen that can change the outcome as far as these teams making it first to the Big 12 championship game and then ultimately to the CFP. But it's a great question. My colleagues will be debating the hell out of it tomorrow on the show, and I'll be sitting back like, yep, what he said,
What do you think of the energy of Joey McGuire? What have you liked about him?
He has great energy. Yeah, he has great energy. I haven't been around him a lot, but the few times I've been around Coach Joey McGuire, that would be the word I would describe as his energy. And I'm an energy guy. Like, I'm all about energy. So he's the type of guy who, when I've been around him, has exuded just great, positive energy, and it's always good to be around people like that.
Considering the landscape, there's a lot of talk about, there's certain storylines that are going through, but what's one thing that you think is flying under the radar when it comes to this game?
Man, flying under the radar? I don't have a flying under the. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, like, say BYU. It depends on how much in the weeds you get. They're getting JoJo Phillips back. He's a wide receiver, 6'5", 205 pounds. And, so he's a threat in the passing game. So they're getting him back. I'm not sure if that's like a story that's not being talked about a lot, but I think it should be something that's that the national media gives attention to.
Considering the landscape of roster management, how common?
I'm sorry.
Considering the landscape of roster management, how common do you think multi-year contracts are going to become?
Multi-year contracts for players
athletes,
or for?
Yes, sir. For athletes.
Contracts are not worth the paper you write them on. So who cares? They always break them, right? So, I mean, that's my answer. They're not worth the paper. I mean, you can sign a contract, then you can transfer to a school the next season, right? Contracts ain't worth the paper they're written on.
What are your impressions of Kalani Sitake and what he's built at BYU?
Same thing with coaches, too. Contracts ain't worth the paper they're written on. They break them all the time, buddy. Man, listen, Kalani Sitake is, one of my favorite coaches. I just like what they stand for. I like his approach, and I like the toughness and the grit of his team. So I'm old school that way. So I have a lot of respect for Sitake and his coaching staff. I think they do a really, really good job, and they've been just so consistent too. So that's what I love about it.
Time for one or two more. The city of Lubbock hasn't had an atmosphere like this since the last time they were here. Yeah. What would a win mean, not just for the team, but for all of Red Raider Nation tomorrow?
I'm not a Red Raider guy, so you gotta ask them that.
With what, say, Indiana has done, you've talked about Texas Tech, Clemson has kind of fallen off. How much of that
He said kinda.
I mean, how much of that do you attribute to the way the structure of the game has changed in the last 4 or 5 years?
So
with
what's the
with
question?
the NIL and transfer portal, how much teams like Indiana and Texas Tech rising and Clemson falling, do you think that's attributable to the structure of the game changing in the last few years?
Yeah, so I think that it's really obvious that the portal has really brought about some sort of parity in college football, and with the portal comes NIL, so there's no doubt about that. You guys have been fantastic.